the lips. The tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips. The trick of the thing, the secret is. The tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips. If ever you've wondered the method of making the magical musical sounds you hear, don't dilly or dally on rhymes you must sally forth, finding your freedom on syllables queer. The pertinent problem is posture, probably. Feet forward, arms akimbo, back unbent. To pontificate properly, one needs three things: poise, as previously pondered, pugnacity, and vocal cords. Observe. Betty Botter bought a bit of butter for her batter. Said Betty, this butter's bitter. So Betty Botter bought a bit of better batter to make her bitter, better, better. The tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips. The tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips. The trick of the thing, the secret is the tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips. So say you're going sailing with your sweetheart some Sunday afternoon, and she says what really makes her swoon is a set of sibilantic syllables. Alas, you slow, sweet simpleton, your mealy-mouthed mutterings made your miss march mercilessly past the mainsail, leaving you low, lonely, and lacking in love. If only you had remembered my rudimentary rubric. The tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips. The tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips. The moral of the story is the tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips.
You did it.
Haven't done that in ages.
Yeah, no, but you made it through. That was very impressive. So,
Thank you.
we're joined this hour um, by Eli Elwood Schwartz. Did
Hello.
I get that right?
That's me? Yeah, you did.
Oh, excellent, excellent, excellent. So I've been very, very impressed, Eli. When we met in San Jose by the tongue twister exercise you did. So for audience, because we're joined by a broad spectrum of five individuals, but these five individuals are from different walks of life. So they're not all familiar with poetry. They may not all familiar with, certainly not all familiar with the skills that go into tongue twisting. How do you do that?
I, God, I don't even know. I grew up really liking poetry. I read a lot of poetry books, but I was really attracted to like semantic satiation, just things that are difficult to say out loud. I always liked tongue twisters as a kid, and I would just relentlessly practice them until I could say them without any issues, and then I just never stopped doing that.
Yeah. Okay. So practice.
Basically, yeah, just continue failing at it until you stop failing
A series of failures and then a life of success.
at it.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah. So we got a comment here from your tongue twisting fan club. It says the tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips. I always repeat that phrase, Karina. We went to dinner. Remember?
Oh
The
yeah, yeah,
girlfriend.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. So how are you? What's going on right now? We're all in quarantine. What are you doing? How you holding up?
Uh, I've actually been pretty doing pretty well. I've actually been taking a break from stand up, from everything. I've wanted to take a break for a long time, because I was doing it continuously for almost 2 years,
Yeah.
and this just seems like the ideal time to do it.
A convenient
For
pandemic.
Yeah, exactly, conveniently timed pandemic. Uh, it's so I've been here. I've been at my parents', making sure that they're doing okay because they're high risk, and making a lot of food and giving food away to people and just trying to not think about the nightmare world we live in, which is successful on some days and less successful on others.
So are you in the San Jose area right now?
I'm in Oakland right now.
Or you're in Oakland? So for
Mhm.
those who want to connect to some of the activity you're talking about, what about getting out food to people? How do they connect to that?
I mean, it's just me, but if you're in the Bay Area, I've been driving to San Jose. If you're in Oakland already, just contact me on Facebook and tell me what you want. I've been baking a lot of bread, but I'm trying to just give away food to anybody who is hungry. So if you need food, just come to me and I will feed you.
I did not expect that answer. Okay, wow, that's a lot. So you bake bread as well.
Yeah, I actually have. I'll need to briefly pop off here in about 26 minutes to take one out of the oven. Um, but I've been just baking. I've been making bread for a long time. I did it a lot in college, but it takes a lot of effort to do it, and I just didn't have the time. But now with this conveniently timed pandemic, I've got nothing but time. So I've
Right,
been
right.
just going crazy, and my we bought something like 75 pounds of flour from a wholesale place in Oakland, and I've just been going crazy and making food.
Yeah, yeah. So I knew you were a poet. I knew that you were also involved in the world of stand-up comedy. You're also a stand-up comic. I also know that you actually you live in the world of theater as well. I knew about that. I had no idea you were a baker though. What else can you do that most people cannot?
I can sing. I can play a couple of instruments.
Real, what instruments do you play?
I have most recently I've been playing mandolin, the stringed instrument, the mandolin. I grew up playing trumpet and French horn, bass guitar. Uh, Anything else? I think that's it. Just those.
Yeah. That's all very impressive. What songs do you sing?
I like jazz a lot. I think jazz standards are really that's where I'm most comfortable singing because I'm a baritone tenor, so that's like a nice range for me. So
Mhm.
mostly jazz standards.
So we have we have some comments in the section. You have you have excellent elocution.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
yes, and then another compliment. Great example of mutual aid. What you're doing out there. Another comment says, Ohlone territory. So San Jose is or the Bay Area Ohlone territory. Land acknowledgement. And it says, please give some to the folks, Poor Magazine and Poverty Scholars who have been feeding the hood there. So
Uh,
connect with
where
them.
in Oakland?
Yeah. You know Poor Magazine?
Poor magazine, People's
It's called, yeah, Poor
magazine.
Magazine. Yeah.
I don't know anything about it, but I'll give food to anybody who needs it.
Yeah. Well, Poor Magazine's actually they're organizers. They're mm, yeah, public intellectuals. They put together a paper. They're they're people from the hood. I mean, they're the working class, and they do incredible work. I've had the opportunity of working with them on a couple occasions, and yeah, it's definitely an organization worth connecting to. So
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
normally
I'll
I bring
definitely
people on here so they could tell the audience things that the audience didn't know, but now the audience is telling. Like, I remember when we
no,
were
no, it's
at
all
the
good.
venue. I remember when you were at the venue, asked me what was a good book to read. So so this is a good organization to connect to in your neck of the woods. Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. So um, some people can tell a good joke and can be funny for a minute, and they think that that's gonna translate into oh, I can do this, right? But stand-up comedy is actually a lot more difficult than having a good joke and being able to tell it well, right? It's a little bit of a craft, huh?
Just a little bit.
A little bit. Can you tell our audience a little bit about the difference between being funny in stretches and being a stand-up comic? Because I don't think a lot of people know that, and then it causes a lot of problems for a lot
Yeah,
of people.
I've definitely experienced that. I mean, if you go to enough open mics, you'll see a lot of people trying material that I'm sure they think is funny or other people think is funny and is just it's not. It's just not funny. The watchword, I think there's a lot of there's a lot that goes into it. Anybody can be conversationally funny or casually funny when you're talking with your friends in a relaxed environment and you're just cracking jokes and it's a good time. People are laughing because they're in the right mood. Part of a comedian's job is to for stand-up comedians is to create that environment that you would find more organically in a group of friends. You can't just go up there cold and tell some joke that your friends laughed uproariously at and have the audience respond the same way because the audience doesn't they don't know who you are. They don't give a shit. Like you have to prove to them that you are somebody worth engaging with. which
Mm.
I think is that's a part that a lot of people struggle with, is to connect to the audience in a way that feels natural. You that's part of what stand up is it's like, oh, it's just this guy on stage who's just talking, and it he is saying funny things, but the way it sounds like they're just having a conversation. These are all just thoughts they've had off the top of their head.
Mhm.
I think the other component for good stand-up comedy that's different from just casually funny. The watchword by which I always write my stand-up is, it's important if you're going to be offensive, you have to be subversive. So it's no use to just be like, let's talk about my penis. It's like, I don't care. Like, who cares about that? Like, let's if you're just gonna swear for no reason, nobody gives a shit. But if you're making a broader point about power imbalance, about inequity, about just the weird shit that people do, if you have something that's there alongside the vulgarity, then it's not just a dick joke, it's a dick joke with purpose. And I think that's an important thing to have.
It's important to have a big joke. All right. So I think that people oftentimes they are very funny within their circle of friends because they have these inside jokes, right? They have a joke that like harkens back and recalls something that happened between, let's say, five people, that everyone remembers it, and they bring it back just at the right time to
Mhm.
make it funny. But that doesn't work for a stand-up comic because you have to have a kind of an inside joke with the world, right? You have to like people have to know what you're saying. Am I wrong? I mean, you tell me.
You're not wrong. So an inside joke like you'd have with your friends doesn't translate because you'd need to explain the premise and the background to it, and if you have to explain the joke, it's not funny. But there is a similar concept that exists within stand up, which is something called a callback, where if you make a joke or a reference earlier in your set, then later on you make a reference to it to get a laugh. It's like an inside joke, but it's just for the show. It's just for you, your time on stage, because then the audience feels engaged with what you had to say. It's like, I remember when they said this joke. That's a funny joke. I'm glad you're bringing it up again. Thanks for this inside joke for us. So it
Right,
does it does kind the concept works, but you just have to adapt it.
right. So most comedy specials do end with some kind of callback, some kind of thing that like reference whatever. And it's like, and then it was like, oh, right.
Right.
And so it's kind of interesting to me, like in a stand-up comic set, it's kind of like you're dealing with, each joke has a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? It's got the beginning, it's got the premise, it's got some shit that happens in the middle, very technical term, and then it's got the punchline, right? um, I got that from Lalo Alcaraz actually, but we didn't say shit because we were on the radio, but yeah, but the middle part and then the punchline. But a whole comic set ends with a callback. So the comic set itself, the set unto itself has a beginning, a middle, and end. Um, if it's any damn good, right? I mean, you tell me.
I don't even know. Like, I've only been doing this for a short period of time relative to like a professional comedian. I think the callbacks are sort of like inherently satisfying to listen to, because it's like, I agree with you. A lot of stand-up comedy, specials, professional comics will end their sets with a callback, and it's because it's like a nice rounding off of the thing. It's like, remember in the beginning when this was funny? Well, here at the end, it's also funny. Um, I don't know. I think it's just a satisfying way to tell a joke. I wish I knew. I wish I knew why.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna take a shot in the dark here and potentially embarrass us both. Can you also do magic? Are you a magician? I mean, you do everything. So I don't know.
I know a couple of magic tricks.
So a magic trick, right, has a beginning, a middle, and an end, right?
Yes,
Yeah, a
it
joke.
does.
So no, the reason I'm asking is because you actually have all these skills, and I just use these things as a metaphor, right? And so, like when I teach my writing workshops on poetry, which I am qualified to do, I turn around, I say like like joke has a beginning, a middle, and an end. A magic trick has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Your poem should have a beginning, a middle, and end. And then I go into it. But like I could just be bullshitting. I mean, like I could just be making something up. So I'm glad.
No, you're right. Don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Good. 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 Because otherwise, I really put us all on the limb there, but it really paid off. My yeah.
Just stumbling into the right answer through ignorance. It's funny that you brought up magic tricks. Part
Mm.
of when I was studying magic, I was learning magic tricks as a 10-year-old. Like it's not studying at that point. It's just here, kid. Here's a book about magic. Please leave us alone for a couple of hours.
Mhm.
uh, it was part of the thing. One of the things that I learned was this thing called the magician's patter, and this is what you're supposed to say as you're doing your magic trick. And the idea is that it's a form of misdirection where people are focused more on what you're saying and less what you're doing with your hands.
Yeah.
And that's probably a lot of where I first encountered like performing funny stuff because patter is it's open ended. It's like you have to explain what's happening in the magic trick, but like other than that, just say whatever. Um, so it's those
Yeah.
two things intersect in a nice way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I believe in that kind of sleight of hand. The kind of It's so funny though because people always want to use like boxing as a metaphor, but nobody really, the amount of people that watch boxing compared to people who use it as a metaphor small. People always want to use jazz as a metaphor. People actually listen to jazz. Use jazz as a metaphor small. People talk about sleight of hand, and this one I'm guilty of because I do listen to jazz. No, that's a lie. I mean, I listen to some jazz. I mean, I know jazz albums, so that's actually a lot. But I don't use jazz as a metaphor that often. So I don't. Maybe my jazz metaphor to actual consumption of jazz probably pretty good. Big boxing fan, so I know a lot about that stuff. But sleight of hand, I use that shit all the time. I'm like, yeah, it's like sleight of hand. Well, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But like, like so. Explain to our audience what is sleight of hand and how and yeah.
Yeah. So sleight of hand is just like it's like it's the magic part of the magic trick. So it's when the coin disappears. It's when the card comes up that has your name written on it. It's when the handkerchief, when they pull a rabbit out of their hat. That moment where the unreal becomes real, that's sleight of hand. More broadly, it refers to like how you do these tricks. So the sleight of hand is like the function of the magic trick. So if you're going to do a coin trick, the sleight of hand in a coin trick is when you make it disappear. The sleight of hand in a card trick is when you force a certain card to somebody. Yeah.
So it has learning kind of some of the discipline of misdirection. Has that helped you in your other artistic pursuits, like tell a joke, so you don't see the punchline coming a mile away, poem, so it's more impactful.
I don't know. I haven't done magic like rigorously for probably a good decade. But I do always find myself drawn to like this is embarrassing. I really like prop comedy a lot, uh, which is not like I think that fucking Gallagher hitting a watermelon with a hammer is genius. That's the most genius comedy that's ever existed, and it's stupid. It doesn't mean anything. Um, but I love. It's just like it's cool to like do different shit in stand up. Like it doesn't have to be like tell jokes. It can be like tell jokes and also handkerchiefs. I don't know. Just do magic is all about making weird shit happen, and stand up comedy can also have weird shit happen in it. So I think in that specific instance it has influenced my work, but it's subtle.
It's subtle. Okay. Yeah. All right. Prop comic. Not sure where to go with that. What are your feelings on Carrot Top?
I Carrot Top's crazy, man. Have you seen Carrot Top recently?
He's
He's like
huge.
super jacked. Yeah,
What
he's super
happened?
jacked.
Yeah,
I
what
don't
happened to
know.
Carrot Top? Yeah. So I want to ask you, as a member of the comedic community, what befell this man?
Uh I really don't know, dude. I can't answer this one. It could be drugs. It could be fame. I'm leaning more towards like mental breakdown, undiagnosed mental breakdown. Most comedians have experienced that at some point, and
Yeah,
Carrot Top was already crazy, so I bet his mental breakdown was like fantastic. I bet he had a great time.
yeah. That's
Sorry, I'm
actually
pointing
kind
at
of
my face.
an interesting thing. I mean, we all kind of know about this concept of we all heard this kind of like idea of Pavarotti, the sad clown, or something like this, the tears of a clown. This idea of like the kind of mental swings involved in these things. Um, Many comics like deal with depression. I mean, like obviously, Robin Williams is a really great example. I mean, a tragic example. But there's many other people you could tell, like just under the surface, there's a lot, a lot of pain and suffering. Why do you think, why do you think, why do you think that is, that there's so much of that we see so much of that?
Um, I that's a good question. It's it's sort of part of part of a comedian's job is um, looking at the world in a way that is fundamentally broken. It's the same things that make people laugh and are the same things that make us cry. The difference between comedy and tragedy is the difference between your grandmother falling down the stairs and my grandmother falling down the stairs. It's personalization. And I think that if you're in that mindset already that lets you tell jokes, you know enough about what's going on in the world to to feel sad about it. I think that in the heart of good comedians is a very, very deep strain of empathy. And that a truly great comedian is somebody who really just doesn't want to see people suffer, who doesn't want to see the things that they make jokes about happen. It's it's a horrible thing in most instances, and it's either laugh or cry, and comedians choose laugh.
Yeah. I mean, I often feel like I often things like, I feel like things become their opposites. You know what I mean? Like when they're really extreme. So like, it's like, it makes sense to me that, that comedians are often the most depressed, or that actors are the most, people who like speak with so much conviction about something that, like, when they take on a role, are the ones that, when they're not acting, don't know what to do with themselves, don't like, don't like, that makes a lot of sense to me. um yeah, I think things often become their opposites, and it's really, a reason why we have to express ourselves, in this period of time, with the crisis. It seems like there's this question of essential versus non-essential workers, and of course, all respect due, and love and admiration for people who are, still working out there, and the essential workers. But it's this weird kind of category that artists, I mean, so many working artists that have, like, been left to dry, and so art is kind of seen as non-essential, and that's really kind of an interesting thing, because if you go to like a teenager's room, it's full of posters of their favorite movies and bands and stuff like that. People talk about their favorite books. They try to woo each other with poetry. They take each other out to the movies, or to a comedy night or something like that. Art is like kind of the stuff of life. Art is how we bond with one another. I mean, like, what do you think about this? Why is art seen as unessential? I mean, obviously, if someone breaks their arm, they don't want to read your poem, but
Right. No, yeah, it's there is a distinction. I'm not gonna claim that artists are essential in the same way that doctors and garbage men and plumbers are essential. Like the essential means our society doesn't function without these people. It's not they're nice to have. It's we're all gonna die without these people. Um, Also, as a very quick aside, if you take somebody out on a date to a stand-up comedy night, you probably aren't going to get a second date. Just like as I love stand-up comedy, I love doing it. Please, there there literally any other choice would have been a better choice than what you did there. Um, I don't know about our. I mean, our culture is very it's so important. Art and culture is what makes groups of people different from other groups of people. Like the culture that we create and consume influences so much of our behavior and our mode of thought. I don't frankly I don't know why. Well, okay, I know why art isn't considered essential or why it's been demeaned, and it's because there's been a very long period of deliberate uh, de de-escalation of the importance of art in American society. It's like on one hand we idolize celebrities, and on the other hand we make writers sleep in cardboard boxes on the streets of New York. Like it's it's that distinction is there for a reason. It's on purpose. It's to make people struggle, um, so they can't be fulfilled. But like I don't know. I wish that every artist could have enough money to buy food and live in a house and then just make art all day. Like if I didn't have to go to work, I'd write jokes and play music and make food all day. Like
You still
I'd
make
be
bread,
very productive. Yeah, exactly. I'd be
which is
very
maybe a little more
productive.
essential. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, no, I hear that. No, and I do want to, like, I don't want to overblow things. I don't want to be dramatic and be like, the arts are just. No, obviously, like, you need to eat. You need to, like, you need medical attention. You need to be not covered in squalor. All those things that are absolutely paramount to your physical health, right? Same time, there are a lot of countries doing a lot better job of protecting their artists than this one. Like, that's just true. You know what I mean? That's just true. Like, arts are not arts are consumed in this country. Arts are produced in this country at a level, more than probably anywhere in the world. But, per capita or whatever. I mean, I don't know Bollywood, but arts are exploding out of the United States, and yet the treatment of the artist is very sink or swim. It's very like big fish eat the little fish, and yeah. So as an artist, what are your goals? How big a fish are you, and how big a fish do you intend to become?
It's I don't know. That's a very that's a
That's a
good
lot of
question
questions. I was started editorializing, and I realized I needed to ask a question, and then I asked the first question that popped out of my mind. I realized I'm being a little bit of an asshole, but you know what? On second thought, it is a good question though. Like,
Okay.
what are your goals? What are you building towards?
Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah. How many people are you willing to screw over on your way to success? Um, I don't know, 5, 6. No. I'm kidding. I I don't know what my goal is. I'm not. I'm not interested in doing stand up as a career choice. One, because I know I'm not funny enough. Like I'm funny. I'm good. I have no illusions about my own skill set. But like there, I'm not ever gonna be a famous comedian, and I'm not even trying. But also because like it sucks. Like doing stand up comedy is very fulfilling for me, but it's also really bad for your brain to do
Mm,
stand up comedy a lot. Like you're out at clubs until like 2 in the morning, drinking a lot of alcohol. You're fucking watching the news all the time and just hanging around with the worst people. It's not good for you. Um, I I'm very much of the mindset of I like I just like seeing talented people doing the things that they're good at. I That's part of the reason that I like hosting shows so much is because I get to be on stage and be entertaining, but also I'm showcasing these people that are really good at what they do. These are maybe not professionals, but they're up there and they're talking to the audience in a way that I love to see it. I love seeing people perform. Um, I think my goal is probably to just be in a place where I can always make where I can always help there be a location and an opportunity for people to perform should they want to.
right. So you and I met at a an open mic called Live Lit Writers. Can you tell our audience a little bit about Live Lit Writers and the primary host of Live Lit Writers, and just a little bit about that?
Sure. So Live Lit Writers Open Mic was was hosted at Cafe Friscotti in downtown San Jose. That place is it's since closed, but it's moved to Crema Coffee Roasters on Race Street. So after lockdown, come see Livelit. The normal host, the producer of the show, is a very good friend of mine named Mighty Mike McGee. He is the goddamn, he's the godfather of entertainment in Silicon Valley. He's the tastemaker. That's it's not even a joke.
No,
It's
no, 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 no. It's true.
He's also, aside from being like a relatively big name in the Silicon Valley performing arts community, he's also just there are some people that you meet and you really want to emulate their behavior. You want to model your life on theirs. And Mike is one of those people where it's just you meet him and you're like, "Oh, okay, I see. This is a very truly generous and kind person that makes me want to be a better person."
Yeah.
I love Mike. But Livelit is it's a an open mic that is hosted, I don't know, every Thursday, I think. Yes, every Thursday. And it's for if you've written something down uh, anywhere you want and you want to say it out loud with your mouth, you can do it at Livelit. It's for poetry and things that everything that's not music and stand up comedy, basically.
Yeah, and I would encourage anyone in San Jose, or actually, no, we all live on the internet now, so you should look up Mike McGee and see what he's up to. Yeah, Mike McGee is a very gentle and kind soul, a very good person, but he also kind of looks. Don't be intimidated though, because he kind of looks like a 40-year-old Tank Abbott. You know, looks very. He looks like a bouncer, but he's kind man.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. He's got a very big, bushy beard. He's short, but he's big. Like, that's so funny. Holy shit.
Yeah, yeah. So now, I mean, Mike used to be the only host, but now he's actually opened up the hosting, responsibilities and opportunities to other members of the community. Can you speak to how that call came about?
Yeah. So I think he had a couple of interim hosts that he would draw from when he couldn't make a Thursday for some reason. Um, mm, Corey Massaro, Christina Medueno, and somebody else. I don't remember their name. Shit, I'm so sorry. I hope they're not watching this and seeing me forget their name live. That would be insulting. But it mostly we got together one evening at a pub, and he was like, "Hey, I want to focus more on other projects during the week." So he only hosts Live Lit once or twice a month, and then there are other hosts that host throughout throughout the month on different weeks. I get the very vaunted fifth Thursday of every month, which means that I only get to do it 4 times a year, which is fun. But it's regardless of who is hosting, it doesn't matter. It's really about the community that's there and the people that are in the room. But all the hosts are fantastic. They're all different and all wonderful in their own way.
How is the bread coming?
Oh, I got my dad to take it out for me. He offered. I was like, please. So it's good. It looks good. It's fucking
All right,
delicious. I'm so
well,
happy.
I don't want to interfere with your
Nah,
life.
it's good. I my, my life is just fucking. My life is this rectangular box you see me in here. There's nothing else. This is where I live now. So thanks.
Yeah, yeah. At least for the next few minutes. All right. So, um, can you sing for us?
Oh God, no! Please don't make me sing on camera.
I
I
can't make you do anything. I mean, I'm simply asking. It's a simple request. I mean, if I wanted to, I couldn't make you do anything. I can't, like I can't.
no, I don't. It's
Okay, I put you on the spot. I realize.
it's okay. It's okay.
Can you bake some cookies for us?
On camera, I guess it would probably take more than the remaining time, but like I could
Yeah.
start.
Oh, no, no, that's right. Can you tell us how does one go about breaking bread? That I am curious about, start to
Sure.
finish.
So it's been like a it's been the like white person activity du jour for the last couple of months or weeks, however long this fucking thing has been.
Yeah.
Because it's it takes a long time and it takes money and ingredients and stuff and it's uh but I love baking bread. So it's there's where do I start? So to make bread, you need a couple different things. You need flour for the actual body of the bread. You need water to mix with the flour to hydrate it to make it strong. You need salt for taste, and you need yeast, which causes bread to rise. That's what makes bread into bread rather than like flat bread, like naan or pita or something. And really, what you do is you just put those four things in a container and you stir them until they are a goo, and then you put that goo down somewhere kind of warm and you leave it for an hour and a half, and then you bring it back and then you turn it into a loaf shape, and then you leave that loaf shape somewhere else for a couple of hours, and then you put it in the oven and you bake it. It's actually less complicated than making cookies or muffins or shit. It just takes most of the time you'll spend baking bread is just sort of doing something else and waiting for it to finish uh, rising.
Yeah. Why can't a market system address the needs of the people during a health pandemic?
Why can't a market system address the needs of the people during a health pandemic? It's because the market incentivizes profits over people's lives. Um, if if we had, even if we had a market that was more less fucking cynical and venal than the American capitalist market, it's still going to prioritize making money. That's the end goal of all markets is to make money. So you can't charging for essential services, charging for medicine is it 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 causes problems because if you can't make a profit because there is an outside force like a pandemic or a sickness or something else, you can't make the money, and therefore you have no incentive to offer the medical supplies. And then the whole chain breaks down because nobody's making any money, even though all the supplies are there and the capacity to produce them is there and the people to ship them are there. It's just that you can't make money, and therefore, I guess grandma has to die for the economy. Like, uh, that's that's basically it.
So how come Cuba can get people out of the way of a hurricane, but the U.S. can't?
Because Cuba knows what it's fucking doing. Um, I mean, Cuba also has a significantly lower population. Cuba has a planned economy. Cuba has a focus on medicine, on STEM. Uh, it's all that sort of comes together to mean that when there is a problem, the government can pretty unilaterally decide we're going to make sure that not that many people are hurt. We're going to do whatever it takes. If it tanks our economy, if it costs us a bunch of money in the long term, if we have to go into debt, doesn't matter. People's lives are more important. So let's do this. That's really what it boils down to is that the Cuban government, for the most part, cares more about its citizenry, and other places don't give a shit.
Why is it that China is able to build a hospital in 10 days, or they're able to build China? Yeah, China's able to build a hospital in 10 days, and the American president wants to drink bleach.
Oh God,
These are the hard hitting questions.
God, we live in a fucking nightmare world. So the pres so let's answer the easy part first. The president wants people to drink bleach because the president is a moron who thinks that drinking bleach is a good idea.
I'm taking notes.
Full stop. That's what he believes. That's it came out of his mouth because he thinks that's true because he's an idiot. Why was China able to build a hospital in 10 days? It's So this was the hospital that they built at the start of the crisis, right after it moved out of Wuhan. It's because China has a really, really strong infrastructure specifically for building uh, things in inside the borders of the Chinese provinces. And so if they need to do something, plus the Chinese government is dictatorial. It doesn't really care that much about what its citizenry thinks, but they're also doing the best they can in a lot of instances to make sure that they don't die en masse. So they can choose, like, let's send, thousands of hundreds of thousands of millions of what's the currency in China? Yuan? Is it whatever? It
The
doesn't matter.
one. The
Yuan,
one.
yeah.
Wait. Is it the yen? No, the yen is in
Yen is
Japan.
Japanese.
Yeah. The one. Yeah.
One, millions of one to just build these things, and it doesn't matter because they just want to make sure that people don't die because that's bad for a government that really wants to keep a grip on power and is competent. If the American government were competent, it would look more like the Chinese government, just as tyrannical but better at their jobs. Um, it's also China has a shit ton of manufacturing. The world's manufacturing is done in China, and they have access to make all the supplies that they would need to just build a hospital. Like their factories have been making medical supplies for decades. They just needed to shift production into shipments into other locations instead of exporting overseas. So it was not that much of an issue. I mean, it was a big deal because building a hospital in 10 days is fucking crazy. But like they just scaled up the infrastructure and supply lines that were already there.
Yeah. Anything you want to promote or plug or let anybody know about?
Anything I want to plug and promote? Like I said at the top, if you are in the Oakland Bay Area, if you're in San Jose and you want food, mostly bread, but like it's good bread, contact me on Facebook and I will make sure that you get food.
How do you get good at tongue twisters?
How do you get good at tongue twisters? I would say um, practice them as slowly as you can without fucking it up first. So find a tongue twister that you really want to try, write it all down, and then just practice saying it all the way through. Even if you have to do it as slowly as possible, just practice doing it very slowly, and then just ramp it up uh, over a couple of weeks. Um, just practice doing it, and breathing. Breathing is very important too. Uh, I think if you have any kind of musical training, you'll probably be better at tongue twisters because you can breathe with your diaphragm. But like just just like anything else, just practice it.
So the short answer is practice.
The short answer is the long answer is also practice, but the short